started. So, hi everybody, this is Virginie here, and I am so happy because today I have the pleasure to meet and talk to Taber Shadburne. Taber, I've met in Germany actually, but he's coming from the US. He's in Auckland and is an amazing person who has been for 25 years organizing workshops about radical honesty and revolutionary relationships, which is very exciting things for me to learn about today. And so he has an extensive background. He's a singer, he's a songwriter, and also he lived for 2 years in a Zen center. He has a master in psychology. And studied with so different traditions, spiritual traditions. So I'm very, very happy to meet you, Taber, and to learn more about what you do. So I told you I'm French, living in Germany, and I'm a facilitator also. And I love to talk to people and ask them questions about their lives and get them to see a bit more inside what's really happening. And so would you love to tell us a little bit more about this? I have lots of friends and people in France and Germany and around the world who would be certainly very curious also to learn that. So what is it?
Very happy to talk with you. Thanks for having me. And you said Virginie, is that how you said?
Yes.
And in English, they usually say my name Taber, but I lived in France as a kid, and they said Taber. So
yeah, Taber. That's how you would say.
That's fine. Either one, I like them.
So we're pronouncing your name. I was like, I'm not sure I pronounce it right.
It's a weird one.
So yeah, tell me about this. You have a special relation to France, and so tell us about this.
Yeah, I lived in France till I was 5 years old, and French was my first language, and I have this kind of sense of soul connection to France, even though we left when I was 5. And sadly, I don't speak the language anymore, but I still sort of hear the music of it in my head, the accent. Sort of like when I hear people speaking French, I feel happy, though I don't know what they're saying. So I like the idea of coming back to France and teaching and being with French people.
That's so great, and we're so happy because you're going to have an extensive, a massive tour in Europe this year. So you'll be touring in Germany, in different countries.
Copenhagen, like 4 or 5 stops in Germany, Lithuania, several weeks in Italy, I think the UK. So yeah, a bunch of stops, probably 15, 20 workshops all over, for June through September.
June through September, all my people, friends there. If you want to meet Taber, you gotta wait this summer. So tell us about this. What is it? Revolutionary relationship? Because we know relationships can be, whatever, thousands of different things, but usually like problematic area, let's say.
Yeah. Ain't it the truth? Ain't it the truth? There was this stand-up comic I really liked I saw who said, you know how you can tell that relationships are difficult? Because whenever you ask somebody about their relationship, they touch their face. Like, hey, John, how's it going with Mary? And he goes, oh, it's going pretty good. So, yeah, it's kind of a joke that we all experience these challenges and difficulty in relationship. And there's a few reasons for this. One primary reason is because we have a totally wrong idea of what relationships are for. The way that we unconsciously approach relationships is, this should make me happy. This should fulfill me. This should, like, you know, fill in the missing piece. This should, like, complete me. We have all these sort of romantic ideals about, oh, if I just find my soulmate, then I'll finally be happy, which is, you know, kind of sweet in an adolescent way, but it does not work. Mm-hmm. It does not work. And so relationships don't work. The way that we understand relationships don't work. They don't fulfill on the promise that we set up for them. On the other hand, if you approach relationships with a completely different intention, they work wonderfully. Mm-hmm. So what is that? If you approach a relationship with the understanding that it is a powerful spiritual practice, if you approach it as a way to engage in transformation, as a way to have yourself revealed to yourself and to work through what you need to work through in order to create love, rather than imagining that love just drops in your lap. If you use it as a workshop, as a spiritual path for learning how to love, then it's wonderful, because it shows you all the stuff, the barriers that you have, all the things that get in the way of truly being loving. And if it goes well, it gives you a partner in doing that work, someone who can support you in ways you need to be supported, and listen to you in ways you want to be listened to. And, you know, it can be a really beautiful, powerful spiritual path to walk together in relationship. But it requires understanding that that's what you're up to, and that you're relating, you're communicating, you're relating, your intimacy, your sexuality, everything is in service of this transformation. So that's what I'm all about. I'm about helping people not just, you know, tolerate their relationship or get along okay or figure out how to stick with each other till death do them part. My emphasis is about how can we use relationship as a spiritual practice, as a transformational path, as an out loud meditation. Mm-hmm. And I'm totally fired up about that. I love it.
So how is it? Is it possible that we all, not all, in a way, not design is the wrong word, but maybe we're not all wired to be in a relationship?
Yeah, sure. In fact, again, some people approach relationship work as the main attraction, the main point is, how do I make this relationship work? And the secondary question is, you know, what will I learn along the way? Whereas as I am approaching it, spiritual transformation, or that walking your own transformational path, is the primary point. And then the question is, how is the way that I am relating with other people serving or hindering that path that I am walking? And is that the relationship work that I'm talking about isn't just romantic relationships. It's about, how do I heal whatever unfinished emotional business I have with my family? How can I create healing with my parents? Or how do I heal the relationship with my ex-spouse? Or how do I relate better with my kids? I see every kind of relationship as a spiritual path, not just the romantic or erotic or sexual ones, but all of them. And sometimes walking that path means more time in solitude and self-reflection, and sometimes it means more time in revealing yourself and figuring out. So, yeah, no cookie cutter approach. It's not like there's one way it's supposed to look. It's intuitive, and it's about starting to really listen to what is coming up and what needs to be revealed and honored in yourself and out loud with other people.
Is it always that you have an agenda when you go into this? And like, is it possible that first what you teach and what your approach is also taking into account having no agenda in terms of like, where do I want to go there? Like, if I don't want to heal something, maybe I don't want to heal anything. Oh, I don't see it for now, any desire for that. Or I don't want to have a specific spiritual path. I'm not following any, for example. What can I still like learn from your approach? Is that what?
Sure. Yeah, I don't. It's like meditation. I spent, as you said, a number of years living and studying in a Zen center, and I've done a lot of meditation retreats and stuff. And the essence of meditation is having zero agenda. The essence of meditation is being willing to show up with as much awareness and compassion and presence as you can muster to what's here right now without any agenda, and becoming, as it were, a good listener or a student of life, and trusting that life is in control, life is leading, and you are following what life is revealing to you. And it's the same way in relationships for me. It's about, I called it before, an out loud meditation. It's like I show up with you and I have no agenda, and I tune into what is arising right now between us. Now, with a lot of people, what does arise is this emotional unfinished business. You know, like somebody goes home to spend time with their parents, and suddenly, this angst or this tension or whatever is coming up in them. Well, that's what's arising in the moment. You don't have to go looking for something. You don't have to have an agenda. You just have to be willing to experience what you're already experiencing.
And I love that. And like the willingness to look at what is there and what is true for me and for, So how does it work? If I go to a workshop with you, how do you lead that or give this impulse or?
Yeah, well, it's a mix of things. There's a little bit of teaching, a little bit of sort of giving people a bit of a philosophical context for why we're doing what we're doing, because even though I'm all about meditation and presence and just resting in awareness, people tend to compulsively think and need to know and need to understand. And so even though my ultimate aim is resting in this way, at first people are like, yeah, but what about this situation? What do you do here? And blah, 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 blah. So you sort of have to use some thinking to help relax the thinking.
Is it working? Is it really working? Can you get really people to quiet the mind in this way?
Well, it takes time, Frank. It does take time. I won't pretend that I can, get that handled in a weekend, but we can make a serious dent, and we can give people a lot of tools and a lot of direct experiences of something different that's launched them on the path. And frankly, I hope that I will keep hearing from people, because I know that it's a long-term practice. But yeah, so first there's some teaching about helping people get their minds on board. Then there's experiential practices in awareness, like, okay, what do I notice about how I show up with people, how I react to people? There's distinctions made about how to pay attention, and then how you can use communication as supportive of more presence and connection and intimacy, rather than as an unconscious resistance to it. Because here's the thing. On some level, ultimately, I think everyone craves a deep connection, a deep intimacy, both a deep intimacy with themselves, which looks like presence in the moment, and a deep intimacy or connection with other people, which looks like openness, emotional connection. On some level, conscious or not, we all really want that. It's like our birthright. It's like a hunger at our core. And at the same time, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, we're terrified of it. We avoid it like the plague, because being really intimate with another person and being really intimate and connected with ourselves is a very intense experience. And we're unconsciously invested in keeping things down to a dull roar, as we say in English, keeping it down to muting it, or keeping it like not too much, because we're afraid we can't handle too much. But at the same time, then we go, jump out of an airplane so that we can feel really alive, But we're conflicted about this. So we really want intimacy and connection, and we're terrified of it. And because we're terrified of it, the way that we communicate with each other most of the time is unconsciously structured in such a way as to prevent too much intimacy rather than create it.
This is so true. Oh my God.
Really, I want to repeat this because this is big. If you really get this in your bones, this is huge. You may think, I want to be close to people, I want intimacy, but you're not usually even consciously aware of ways that you are keeping people at a distance with how you communicate. And they're doing the same, because it's like, let's be polite, let's do the things that people are expected to do in these situations so that no one will be uncomfortable. We'll just do that. Oh, how about the weather? Yes, how have you been lately? Blah, blah, blah. How's your mother? We just fall into automatic patterns that limit the amount of intimacy that we could really have. So what I teach is a way of using communication in a radically different manner that actually encourages you to be totally present with each other. But that's kind of scary at first. It's like, whoa, here we are, It's like, how are you feeling towards me right now? What's going on with you? How am I feeling towards you? What's arising in the moment right now between us? And that's a completely different way of communicating. Even like right now, you and I are having a conversation about stuff, which is different than us doing the thing that I'm talking about. It would be possible for us to sort of shift gears and suddenly become more aware of like, oh, here I am looking at your face, even if it's the digital representation of your face. And here I am hearing your voice, and here I am feeling what I feel right now. And how is that? I like you. I like your face. I like the way you're nodding. I like the little times in your voice when you go, And I'm excited to have you. I just felt it, see? Up comes a wave of feelings right now where I'm excited and appreciative of you for you asking me questions about this thing that I'm so passionate about. And I really, I was frankly lonely for a long time, and I've been on a serious spiritual path, but a lot of that path involved sort of feeling and embracing my own loneliness. And at this point, my path has changed into wandering around, sharing my passion for what I have found or think I have found with other people who are interested. And I love that. And it's sort of the antidote to my loneliness. It's my way of creating connection and sharing what I'm most passionate about with other people who I think can hear it.
Mm. Wow, this is fantastic. Wow. It's really deep. Like I could hear your message, and I could also be and I connected to what's happening also in me, like listening and receiving your words, and receiving your receiving of me, and whoa, yeah, this is unusual. Like this is not like a usual kind of conversation that you could have also.
That's why I use words like revolutionary or radical to describe it, because I'm not going to even pretend that this is a normal conversation. It's not. And frankly, the people who are drawn to my work, my way of being, what it is that I have to share, are frankly the people who are bored or tired or sad or fed up with kind of just normal ways of being together, with kind of the average kind of way of connecting, and even with their average experience of life. Because frankly, I think that most of us, most of the time, kind of sleepwalk through life. You know, it's like we get up, we go to work, we do whatever we do. It's kind of like it becomes routine. And some part of us, at least some part of some of us, has this feeling, no, there's got to be so much more possible. You know, I have this intuition, I have this yearning that tells me a much deeper experience of life is possible. And I'm willing to take risks or make changes in order to experience that.
Yeah.
And so I won't lie. Part of the cost of admission of this kind of work that I'm sharing is being willing to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
A lot of what people are selling out there is, here's how you get to be more comfortable quickly. Here's the pill you can take, or here's the mantra you can say, or here's the practice you can do that will make you happy, peaceful, joyful tomorrow. I'm not going to pretend that that's what I'm selling.
Mm.
What I'm sharing with people is this passion for growth, for transformation that becomes so strong that you're willing to be uncomfortable sometimes in the movement toward that goal. Mm-hmm. And in fact, as you do that, you find that the love you have for that path you're walking makes the pain not so painful. It's just sort of like, well, yeah, I'm uncomfortable right now, but it doesn't scare me. That doesn't worry me. I'm not considering it a problem. Mm-hmm. And then it just naturally blooms into much more joy and connection and love than I ever experienced before. But you're willing to ride the whole spectrum.
I love it. And I'm also, I'm going to share something for me personally, because I love to, I like to be in contact with people. I love to connect with people. So I'm really, it is something I'm feeling good about. And there is also a point when I am aware of, and this is this boundary I'm willing, or I would love to push even further, like this envelope push further, is I am aware at one point that I disconnect, or I drop out, or there is something in me that at one point is like checking out. And then, although I'm here and I'm present and I will be back, but then there is a part of me that is that checking out, dropping out. And I would love to explore how to go even further, how to be like in this uncomfortableness, be present and see what's beyond that. What will happen if I really stay there and I'm like, okay, and what's next? What else? What?
I love that. I love that. That's a perfect inquiry for what I'm talking about. Because what happens is, yes, you reach those places that we might call edges. They're sort of like the edge of your comfort zone. And at that moment, what happens is you get scared. And people don't tend to talk about themselves as being scared. And, oh, I'm fine. You know, what are you talking about? No, people are scared a lot of the time. It may be subtle, but it's still being scared. So what's amazing is when you can start to catch, oh, I came up to that edge, then I started to feel scared, then I start to employ one of my habitual ways of getting away from the edge. Either I change the subject, or I get sleepy, or I get irritable, or I start to eat something, or I smoke a cigarette, or I have a drink. All of these different methods that I call sensation management strategies. They're ways of you trying to arrange not feeling too much, or trying to manage the way that you're feeling and changing it to something else. But if instead you're in this conscious inquiry, then you come up to the edge and you notice the fear arise, and then you get curious and you stay right there at the edge. You don't try to force yourself over the edge, and you don't run away. You just stay there lovingly, patiently, compassionately, and with awareness at the edge. And you say, oh, wow, this is how I'm getting scared right now. This is what I'm afraid of. And what's underneath that, you know? Maybe there's some feeling there that I'm uncomfortable with. Maybe I'm angry at you, attracted to you, or maybe I'm, you know, worried that you're attracted to me and embarrassed to even broach the subject, or who knows what it is. But there's something there underneath that fear that actually wants to be revealed. And if you can sit with that fear at the gate of that fear long enough, and let the gate open and let this other thing come through, then at first there's kind of like, whoo, jumping off the cliff. But then there's like, oh, that's such a relief to actually move through that instead of avoiding it like I always do. There's a phrase in English, getting something off your chest, which I take literally. It's like, oof, this thing that I'm avoiding saying, that I'm nervous about, that I change the subject about, it's like a weight on me. And if I can lovingly open that gate and let that out, oh, it's a relief. And then what's present next? I don't know. Maybe I, you know, feel complete with the conversation with you, and I say, you know, I let go of how I was feeling angry at you, and I feel forgiveness, and then I'm ready to just walk away with more peace in my heart. Or maybe it opens a deeper level of connection to you than I've ever experienced before. That's kind of like scary but fun. Like, wow, okay, here we are. Wow, I feel like kind of alarmingly connected to you and more seen, and this is sweet. And then you get to just kind of vibrate and deal with more aliveness. You know, this is kind of like 21st century Tantra. Because in Tantra practice, it wasn't just about sex. People think that Tantra is just about sex. It's not. It's about using your whole body and all of the energies in your body as fuel for the spiritual practice. Because a lot of the traditional religions and stuff were terrified of the body and terrified of emotion and terrified of sex and terrified of anger. So they made all those things bad and shoved them in the closet and tried to just be kind of serene and holy all the time. The path for us these days, I think, is to start using all of that aliveness, all that passion, all that energy in the body as our practice. And we start being able to digest and harness more and more of that. So we become not some sort of like holy spiritual people who sit on the mountaintop, but like really alive, passionate, connected people who have our hearts open, you know, to a degree that other people might find unusual.
Mm. Wow. Wow. That got me really curious now. So I would, yeah. So we're talking about you coming to France also towards the end of the summer, and so that would be something very magical if we can get this organized. So I will see and talk to some more people and see what
I would love to come and share with you all. As I say, I'm loving traveling all over the world, which I have been doing for the last few years, sharing this message and this practice and building community wherever I go. And that's been in like 50, 60 cities and 15 countries and 4 continents. But I must confess, a special attraction and curiosity about coming to France to do it, because as I said, I have this whole history with France. I grew up near Orléans, and I went to French preschool, and I have this kind of special fondness for France, and I would love to come back, and I would love to come back in this capacity, sharing this thing that I'm so passionate about with all of you. And it's frankly, it's the most rewarding thing I can imagine. I feel embarrassed almost that this is how I get to make my living, because I know a lot of people are slogging away in jobs that they don't like. But this is for me such a joy to be able to watch people, light bulbs come on and hearts open, and I hear the stories of people changing their lives when they go back home, and I get to stay in touch with these people, and people often build community with other people. Like one of the things I work to do is at the workshop help build a community between the people at the workshop so that they will stay in connection with each other after the workshop is over, and support each other in this way of being with each other. Because frankly, it's all about a new kind of community. The old era of you know, I am doing it on my own. Either like, frankly, like in romantic relationships, part of the sickness of our culture is imagining you can have a really healthy relationship without having a healthy community surrounding it, embedded in it, you know. Or that the relationship is embedded in community, or raising kids in an isolated nuclear family is not really the healthy way to go. We all need a wider community that really holds us, and going and doing a workshop that's like a one-time experience, and then you go back to your normal life where you just sleepwalk through it on automatic pilot, like we were talking about before, that will give you limited benefits. So my ultimate aim is to get people more invested in community and supporting each other ongoingly. So I try to use the workshops to build that wherever I go.
Yeah, and that's so cool. And it's like European community that will go through all these countries that you will be going to also. So I'm looking forward also to see you in Germany. I know so many people also would love to learn that.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Munich, Hamburg, Berlin, Leipzig, this other town near Berlin, a bunch of stops in Germany.
So,
and there's a community of people that are doing this work who are now in touch with each other online and stuff all over the place. They're in lots of different countries. So there's some community within that country, and then there's a community of Europeans who are visiting each other and supporting each other. I love it.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all of these things with us and with me. And I'm really looking forward to more.
It's my joy. It's my joy. You know, I really appreciate you for asking. I appreciate you for being interested in bringing me to France. I would love to come. I appreciate you for the questions you asked, and it's just, it really does bring me joy to talk to you about it all and I try to get across to people how wonderful this is or why I'm so passionate about it. And it's kind of like hard because I think like, oh, they might not really understand, or I'm trying to find just the perfect words to plant the seed or to light the fire, you know, but I do what I can. So
you did pretty well. I'm really looking forward to listen to it again, and I will translate it for French friends. And yes, so yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Taber, and looking forward to more with you.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to it as well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.